Gwatney Unplugged, hosted by Scott Romine, is brought to you by Gwatney Buick GMC at 5700 Landers Road in North Little Rock, next to Sam's Club. Call 501-945-4444 or visit GwatneyBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Hey, Scott Romine here, and I am a motorcycle nut. Former motorcycle cop. I will never get off of motorcycles, and I'm really excited to talk about motorcycle accessorizing today and leather stuff. We're going to talk about the very famous Bates Leathers. They are located in California. They started life as a motor scooter service back in 1939. The company later published a catalog featuring motorcycle accessories and apparel and became a pioneer in the aftermarket motorcycle industry. We're talking with Dana Grindle. How are you, Dana?
I'm well, thank you. And you?
I'm great. So great to talk to you. I'm honored to own one of your Bates Leathers jackets that you made me so many years ago. And you guys have quite a history. You go back to the 30s. Can you tell us a little bit about Robert Owens Bates, who started this whole thing?
Yeah, well, he's like my idol.
Really? Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I think I like him more than I like Schwarzenegger. So
that's awesome. Well, of course, Arnold's my hero it has been since I was a kid, but he started this thing like in a garage, right?
Yeah. So he was working, I guess, at Lockheed Martin. And so he developed the windshield and he started a motor scooter service. So like in the picture that you saw on my Instagram page of him standing out in front of the store.
Right.
Yeah. He's standing I think those are matchless motorcycles. And he did a lot of Cushmans.
And so I guess
I think that's where it started. And I'm sure he could have moved into Indian, but Harley would have been lastly on that because we started doing like the solo seats and everything for Indian first back in the late 30s. And so he started doing all that too. He was actually he was a machinist, mostly a machinist. Yeah.
I guess, Dana, the thing that we consider standard, we go buy a Harley today, we know we're going to get a windshield and a seat. Was this just not part of what you got? Like when I was a kid, you bought a new truck, you didn't get a rear bumper. So, I mean, him making all these things, it just didn't exist.
Yeah, and he saw a need for that. So he was a visionary. I mean, he was very creative. He invented the first planishing hammer to make some of the steel parts, like the solo seats and everything. And I was told that by one of his relatives. So,
wow.
And that was so impressive. And when I come into this store and I start remaking a lot of this stuff, like bringing back some of the hard parts and everything, mm-hmm. I visually picture him in here doing it. Then I just kind of follow in those steps.
Do you have some of the originals to go pattern off of?
Sometimes I do. So I'll pick some up in places, because when we got here, we were not left with any of the tooling. So I had to recreate it and remake it. And so when I recreated the solo seat, I just picked up a hammer and I started pounding it. Yeah. And I just closed my eyes and started pounding, and it worked out real well for me.
So he also saw the need. I guess there were a lot of motorcycle races in the deserts of California, but I guess he noticed that, hey, somebody gets hurt. There's no ambulance. There's no first aid kits. Didn't he do something with that?
That is true. So his station wagon he used as an ambulance at all the oval track races, all nearby. All the old ones that were here, that are no longer here in California. Sure. Because most flat tracks were out here in the beginning. And so he did. He took people to the hospital. He went and picked them up off the track, and that's what his old station wagon was for.
So when you say you're remaking hard parts and stuff, what kind of hard parts are you undertaking these days?
Right now I do not all of them, most all of the seats. And so recently I went into cross country and scrambler as well.
I got you.
Because, I'm an upholsterer by trade. That's how I came into this business 30 years ago. And I just started doing them. I had no idea they had done them at the time until I started doing history searches and went, wow, there's so much we were not told. So, yeah. And there was, because they had phased all that out, thinking that we weren't going to have anything to do with it. But he obviously didn't know me very well.
Yeah, I guess not. It's one of those cases, the right person landing in the right place.
I think it's just a God shot. And, you know, God has a path that you're supposed to go on.
Yeah.
And
very true.
And that. So, yeah, I'm really very passionate about what we do here.
He had a patent, didn't he?
He didn't have, he had the patent on the windshields as far as I know, but if he had other patents, I was unable to find him. I looked for him, searched for him years ago as well. But, Robert Owens did not have anything past a 6th grade education. Really? So that explains a lot of why the things weren't trademarked and patented and all that stuff. I mean, if you consider the Bell helmet and the bubble screen to the helmet, you know, the bubble windshield.
Sure.
Bob Bates invented that.
No way.
And then Bell Helmets ripped it off because he didn't patent it. So they took it and patented it.
And he just didn't have the wherewithal to fight it and all that would have went into that.
He was big into go-karts. Big. That's where a lot of the money went, but I think he was well before his time on that.
Yeah.
Because go-karts didn't come real popular until the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, I remember them being pretty big in the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, he passed on out on the Highway 14 out there. His driver fell asleep and they hit another car head on and he was killed.
Really?
So, yeah, that's how that happened.
What year did that happen?
In the early 60s, early to mid 60s. I can't give you an exact date because I don't know the exact date.
I was looking in it's amazing the variety of stuff this guy was doing. In 45, he had a catalog with 5 different windshields. And the very next year, he offered 13 different model windshields for motorcycles. So, man, he was expanding like crazy back in the day.
Because we were in Los Angeles at that time. And we took up a whole city block there. And then after he got into some trouble with the scooters, needed money, and then he ended up losing the company. And it's a very sensitive subject with the family. So really? I was very happy to even get them to speak to me.
Really?
Yeah, because, you know, they just didn't want anything to do with us anymore or anything like that. And I think something went awry with the second owners, which is who we bought the company from.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
During World War II, when metal is hard to come by, how did that affect what he was trying to do? Because, I mean, he had to build frames for these windshields and all of that.
Right. So he had to shut the scooter shop down when the war started. And then after that, the Depression and all that came. And he went back to his garage. So he had a shop for a little while. And I'm almost sure it was in Southgate at that time for that. And then he shut it down. And then after that, he opened up the big one on Alameda Street down there.
I was reading your history. It seemed like he even developed a jig for using plastics and was kind of starting to pioneer, I guess, some plastic frame stuff to where he didn't need metal.
Hey, even recently, I heard that he made a motorcycle trailer.
Well, that was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, way ahead of his time at the time, because he produced a trailer, and this is what I was emailed in the last 3 months or so, and I was talking to the guy about it, and I said, I don't even have that in any of my catalogs. You know, and of course, my catalogs don't go back to, you evidently have an early one because I don't have that one.
Yeah, that goes back very far.
They're in. Yeah, I do have them, the ones that the windshields are in, but mine doesn't show windshields until 1960.
Well, let me go back. Says our Terminator 1 comes out October 26, 1984, is one of my favorite films of all time. Are you saying Arnold was familiar with Bates Leathers before this movie was ever made?
Yeah, that's my recollection of it. Yes.
Wow. Now see that I had no idea. I knew he wore a Highwayman jacket, Now,
Yeah, I got that from his assistant, Greg.
really, are there any existing T1 jackets?
Not in my store.
Okay, so they're out there somewhere.
Well, because back then, I mean, when we were making those in the 80s like crazy. And so they must have just picked that jacket, because it was a standard jacket. And every movie we do, we make at least 50.
So when it comes to T2, did you design the T2 jacket?
No, I designed T3. I came in during Planet Hollywood.
Okay, so the T2 has kind of a circular thing on the left-hand side of it with a pocket in there. It's a little different, obviously, than the first one.
Yeah, that's called a D pocket.
Where did that design come from?
Probably the studio.
Really? Okay. And then you guys are just responsible for making it.
And we recreate it. Yeah. And then we recreate it. And then we have our own version of a T2, which is a replica T2.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that off our website and I just left the original up there because they're hard jackets to make. They're very hard jackets to make, even harder to pattern. So
I am very blessed that you made one for me back in like 2010 or so, or 2013, somewhere in there. And I come out, and one of the things that you don't think about if you've never been around one of these, it is very heavy.
Yes. And some people like it in the movie leather, which is patinas easily, and it can be aged. I've sent them out to professional agers and had them age it for me and for the customer and stuff like that. Yeah.
Really? Have you had customers request bullet holes?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Mine doesn't have the holes in it. Mine has just it's the opening scene.
Okay. So you let me put the jacket on when I was in your shop there. And that's been just a huge thrill for me, being the Arnold Terminator fan.
Everybody, not just you, everybody does that. And I say, hey, you want to come up and put the jacket on?
Oh, it's worth flying out there to say I had Arnold's jacket on,
and everybody's just so excited. I get a lot of people from Japan coming in here and doing that. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
How did you get the job of designing the T3 jacket?
They came to us again, and I looked at all their drawings and I said, okay, these 4 he's not going to like at all. And they said, well, we want you to make them anyway. And I said, okay, I'll make those too. And I said, but this is the one he will want. I just happened to know. Don't ask me how. I just knew what he would like.
Really? Because it's kind of got like vertical ribs around the shoulders.
Yeah, and the funny thing is because he was older,
right?
He got little wrinkles here and there. So I took the collar of that jacket and I put soldering iron in it so I could maneuver the jacket to cover up the wrinkles on his neck.
Really? That was wow.
Yeah, it was funny, actually. And it's like, well, it works.
Yeah, I think it was 56 when he made Terminator 3.
Yeah.
Are there other celebrities you make leather suits for all the time?
I've done Brad Pitt, Nicolas Cage, numerous movies. We currently do the Progressive commercials.
Right.
Yeah, I do all of those guys. I've been doing Flo, and her name's Stephanie. I've been doing her since she started in that. And then movies, Torque. I mean, the storyline was kind of silly, but the action was really good. I really like that. The Torque is a really good movie to see some of our really top-notch work. And then, of course, you got Easy Rider and just everything. Everybody's always making movies for stuff, and they're buying stuff for us. And I usually don't see it until about a year later.
I'm surprised you didn't do Ghost Rider.
No, I didn't, because what they'll do is they will, if they film in Australia, they need to support the Australians.
Sure. I got you.
And that's how that really works. Like T5, when they did T5, they did it in Louisiana.
Right.
And they support them too. I supplied them with a lot of jackets for that. for their peacekeeper people.
I got you.
You know, and yeah, I supplied a lot of jackets for that, but those were just like off the rack jackets that they needed, and my Japan store offered those up.
I'm surprised Keanu hasn't come in needing some. He rides motorcycles all the time.
Well, it's very possible they get them because, you know, you get like Kim Kardashian, Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, those are the most recent people that are in our products. And so we have products here and we also have products in Japan.
So you actually have a store in Japan?
Yeah, we have a store over there. It's called Strut. And so he handles that part of it.
That is very cool.
So anything over there is, he has a top-notch designer that likes to design stuff. And basically what they're doing is recreating everything we've ever done.
I got you. Well,
and selling it.
You don't just do Harley Cruiser style stuff. You also make things to accommodate the sport rider, correct?
Yeah. And, you know, honestly, our number one seller is drag racing.
Really?
We make a kick-ass drag suit.
That's great.
Well, you don't want to part and you want to be able to get up and walk away.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Have very good luck with that because we sew a lot differently than other people. I mean, we are safer and we know how to make things strong. We do a European stitching on our stuff and we don't want it to come apart. You know, it doesn't matter what we make. We still sew it very strong.
Well, I can tell from the jacket you made me that the quality is just beyond any jacket I have ever seen anywhere for sale. Or, I mean, it's light years. It's a Ferrari compared to a Pinto. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. And I say that to people a lot. And I say, what do you want, a Volkswagen or a Mercedes?
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely the best you could get.
Yeah. And isn't that great? You know, I mean, it's impressive what comes out of here sometimes. I'm most of the time I'm in awe.
Well, and for me, for the fan of Terminator, it just means a lot that there is something like that is still obtainable. I mean, the movie is really old, but it's still really good. And be able to own something that was made by somebody that worked on those films really means something, you know?
It does. And they're both the movies are iconic. I mean, T2 mostly, you know, it was really cool movies. It was in the beginning of like action films, you know, that were this much action in them.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to us on Gwatney Unplugged. What is the website again? How do people reach out and order some of these cool leather goods?
The website is batesleathers.com. And if you want to email us, it's info@batesleathers.com.
Thank you so much, Dana. You've been just really a pleasure to talk to you today.
Well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate you, inviting me to do this.
It's
always talk to you.
You've always been top of mind. So that's a guest we've got to get. We've got to talk Bates Leathers and talk Arnold. So thank you so much, Dana. We'll be right back here on